If you would have told me a couple years ago that I would be excited about maxing out my Roth IRA, I probably would have laughed. Retirement felt like something I'd worry about decades from now. And then one night I actually sat down and learned how compound interest works and realized that waiting even a few years could cost me way more than I expected. This year I did three big things. I maxed out my Roth IRA with Fidelity. I signed up for my employer's 403b match, and I started taking my evenings a little differently. In this video, I want to show exactly why I made those decisions, the numbers that convinced me, and what my day-to-day life actually looks like while I'm trying to build a better future. No fit guru stuff, just what I'm doing, what's worked for me, and why I'm genuinely excited about it. The biggest thing that changed my perspective wasn't making more money. It was finally understanding compound interest. I used to think retirement was something I figured out later. But once I actually looked at the numbers, I realized that starting early is probably the biggest advantage you have. This year, the Roth IRA contribution limit is $7,500 USD, and so I decided to max mine out through Fidelity. Disclaimer, not because I'm rich. I definitely don't just have money sitting around, but because every dollar I invest today has decades to grow. One quote that really stuck with me is something Warren Buffett has said for years. You can't time the market, but you can put time in the market. That completely changed how I think about investing. I don't know what the market is going to do next month, next year, or even the next 5 years. Nobody does. But what I can control is consistently investing and giving my money as much time as possible to grow. That's really the only part that's up to me. That's why I stopped worrying about finding the, quote unquote, perfect time to invest and just focus on getting started. Think about it like this. If I invest $1 at 24, that dollar has around 40 years to compound before retirement. If I wait until I'm 34, well, now it only has roughly 30 years. It doesn't sound like a huge difference, but compound interest is, frankly, kind of crazy. Those first dollars you invest usually end up being some of the most valuable dollars you'll ever put in. The other thing I really like about the Roth IRA is that I've already paid taxes on the money going in. So if everything grows over the next 30 to 40 years, I can take those gains out in retirement without paying taxes on them. And I think that's a pretty awesome deal. Now, once all that clicked for me, investing stopped feeling like I was taking money away from myself. It started feeling like I was buying future freedom with money I was already earning anyway. The next thing I did was sign up for my employer's 403b. And for those who don't know what a 403b is, it's essentially a 401k, but for nonprofit companies. And honestly, the biggest reason was the employer match. That's why I signed up for the 403b. Once someone explained it to me, I kind of had one of those, aha moments. Let's say your employer matches part of what you contribute. If you aren't putting in enough to get that full match, you're basically leaving part of your paycheck behind. You're still showing up to work every day, but you're choosing not to take all the money they are willing to give you. That's how I started looking at it anyway. So I made sure I was contributing enough to get the full match, and then I automated everything. The money comes out of my paycheck before I even see it. Honestly, that's probably been one of the biggest hacks for me. Because, once it's automatic, I don't have to, kind of convince myself every 2 weeks to invest. There's no debate, maybe I'll skip it this paycheck. It just happens, in the background. I don't see it. And I build my savings without having to think about it. Sometimes the best financial decisions are the ones you only have to make once. I think the biggest mindset shift for me was realizing that retirement isn't just something for older people to think about. For the longest time, I kept telling myself, I'll worry about that later. But later has a funny way of showing up faster than you expect. Once I sat down and actually looked at the numbers, it hit me that the biggest advantage I have right now is not making a ton of money. It's simply having time. That's something you cannot buy back no matter how many millions of dollars you throw at it. I also stopped looking at investing as kind of giving something up, right? It's leaving my savings account and it's going into this investing account. And, sure, I could spend that money on things I want today, getting that instant gratification. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying your money. I still buy things I enjoy, and I'm definitely not trying to live off ramen noodles just to retire a year earlier. But every dollar I invest now is giving future me a little more freedom. That's how I like to think about it. And I'm not trying to be a millionaire overnight. I'm just trying to make small decisions today that my future self will be thankful for. And personally, that shift made investing feel a lot less like a chore, like, oh, like I have to put this money in, and a lot more like this is for my future self. So I don't have to work until I literally die. And you might ask yourself, okay, what does your day actually look like? And honestly, it's pretty simple. My alarm goes off at 5:45 every morning, and I head to the gym with my little brother. Am I excited to get out of bed every single morning? No. Hell no. But I've never regretted going once I'm there. It's just the act of, getting up and getting there. After that, I head home, shower, and go to work. My 9 to 5 pays the bills, funds my Roth IRA, and my 403b. And gives me the stability to work on everything else I want to build outside of work. When I get home, I don't immediately jump back into work. I usually take roughly an hour or two to eat, relax, maybe watch some YouTube, or just, recharge. Then I open my laptop, and this is honestly my favorite part of the day. Lately, I've been spending my evenings building SaaS projects and seeing what I can create. Now, some ideas are not the best, and they don't make it out of the planning stage, but a few of them do. And a few of those are longer term projects that I've been working on for roughly a year now. And the fun part isn't even making money, it's solving problems and building something that didn't exist prior. I think that's why this routine has actually stuck, because, I'm not forcing myself to do something I hate every night. I'm spending time on something I'd probably be doing anyway. And it's time to get some sleep and do it all again tomorrow. Nothing flashy, nothing glamorous, no, crazy productivity hacks. There's nothing there. It's just, a grind, and really just a schedule that's been working really well for me. One thing I've realized is that motivation comes and goes. Some mornings I wake up before my alarm and I'm ready to hit the gym. And there's other mornings I would rather stay in bed. The same thing happens after work. Some days I'm super pumped to start coding. And other days I'd really just rather not, right? I'd rather chill out and maybe read or something else. But even though that's productive, right, it's still not coding productive, if that makes sense. And that's normal, right? You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. And the difference is, right, I don't let those feelings decide what happens next. The gym is already a part of my morning. My investments happen automatically every paycheck. And after I take time to relax after work, I already know I'm going to spend a couple hours building something. That's already there. I don't have to make those decisions every day because I already made them once. And this is another idea I picked up from the book Atomic Habits. The goal isn't to wake up every morning feeling motivated. It's to build habits that make the right decision the easy decision. The less I have to rely on motivation, the more consistent I become. And, honestly, I think that's been one of the biggest lessons I've learned this year is the more important something is to me, the less I want it to depend on whether I feel like it that day. That does not mean I'm perfect at all whatsoever. I still have lazy days. I still procrastinate sometimes. And there are definitely nights where I don't get as much done as I wanted. But, and this is the big thing, if you keep showing up, if you are consistent, those small wins start stacking up. They start compounding together. And that's really all I've been trying to do. The more I think about it, the more I realize this isn't really just about investing. It's about building a life that keeps getting a little better over time. Obviously, money compounds, right? We talked about compound interest earlier. Money compounds. That's the whole reason people talk about investing so much. But I think a lot of other things compound too. Again, that book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. One of the biggest takeaways for me is that your habits shape your identity over time. You don't become healthy because you worked out once. You don't become good at money or with money because you invested in with one paycheck. You don't become a developer because you spent one night coding. It's all the little things you do consistently that slowly become who you are. When I looked at my life through that lens, everything really started to make sense. Waking up early, going to the gym, investing every paycheck, and coding after work might not seem life-changing on any single day. But after weeks, after months, after years, those habits start stacking up. And eventually you realize you're becoming the person you wanted to be. When I look back at where I was a couple of years ago, I'm not a completely different person. I've just made a bunch of small decisions that started stacking on top of each other. And honestly, I think that's what compound growth really looks like. It's not this one big life-changing moment. It's a lot of small choices that don't seem like a big deal until you look back a few years later and realize how far they've taken you. At the end of the day, I'm not saying you need to max out a Roth IRA or follow the exact same routine I do. Everyone's situation is different. The biggest thing I hope you take away from this video is that you don't have to completely change your life overnight. Just start with one good decision, just one. Whether that's opening your first investment account or maybe finally taking advantage of your employer's retirement match. Maybe it's going to the gym or learning a new skill or spending an hour every night working on something you're excited about. The small things you do every day determine who you become. I think that's exactly what I've experienced this past year. None of these decisions felt like life-changing on the day I made them, right? It wasn't life-changing. But together, they've completely changed the direction I'm heading. And, I'm still learning, right? I'm still young, just graduated college. I'm still learning. I'm still figuring things out. That's actually why I started this channel in the first place. I wanted to document the journey, share what I'm learning, and hopefully help someone else who's just getting started too. If you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. I've got a lot more videos planned about investing, building SaaSes, and documenting everything I learn along the way. And if you're working toward a goal right now, whether it's investing, getting healthier, building a business, learning a new skill, whatever that is, let me know in the comments down below, and I would love to hear what you're working on. Seriously, I'm going to reply to every single comment on this video. Now, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.